Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. It's great to be with you on a Tuesday. Thank you kindly for joining us. My name is Jerry Miller. This program showcases the best of Charlottesville, Virginia. We are live for Charlottesville, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. Today's guest, I'm very excited to introduce Matteus Frankovich. He needs no introduction for a lot of folks in this community. The serial entrepreneur, the visionary, the Renaissance man behind brands like the T-Bazaar in Charlottesville, the T-Bazaar in Stanton. He was the entrepreneur behind Black Market Moto Saloon, that is now Firefly. His current brand, Skyclad Aerial, is producing phenomenal aerial photography through drones, and I'll let him explain it. This, a gift from him to us that is going to be framed and hung in our studio. It's absolutely amazing and epitomizes the many aspects I love about Charlottesville, Virginia, including Fridays after 5, one of our playgrounds for sure. Before we welcome Matteus to the program, let's thank some of our clients for being a part of the show. Guys, we are an advertising agency at VMV Brands and I Love CVille. And in our building on Market Street on the first and second floor, our teams represent 113 clients as of this morning up and down the East Coast. Two of our favorites, Interstate Pest and Service Companies and Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Any interfacing with the marketplace for those brands, along with our clients, originates on the first and second floor. Interstate started in 1969 with the first generation, Mr. Robert Wells. And in Charlottesville in 1969, he used his personal truck, sweat equity, and payphones around the community to build a company. Today, the business is 4 generations of family strong, almost 100 employees, and a Commonwealth-wide working footprint. We'll thank Dr. Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine for also being on our roster. Sports medicine, physical therapy, chiropractic care. Dr. Wagner is changing people's lives. Now, guys, if you'd like to interact with the program, like Sanja Makar has done, give it a like and a share on any of the 12 Facebook pages and put your perspective in the comment section, and I will relay it to Matteus myself. For instance, Tim in Crozet says, I can't wait for this show. I've caught many of concerts at the Black Market Moto Saloon. Matteus is one of the good guys in our community. Judah, you are the director, my friend. Why don't we go to the studio camera and welcome Matteus to the show. Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Jerry, it's a pleasure to be here. I wanted to start by thanking you for what you do here with the I Love CVille brand.
Thank you.
I think it's an incredibly understated thing to just simply bring people together, let folks know what businesses are out there, what individuals are up to, and just Charlottesville as a superb networking town. You were at the epicenter of it.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you for being this conduit.
I appreciate that. Why don't we do this? We will start by humanizing, localizing, and personalizing you.
Uh-oh.
What are you all about, Matteus? Who is Matteus?
Let's see. What year is it? 2020.
Yes.
I guess my current incarnation is, not to let you down, maybe a bit simple and understated. I've been living right outside of town towards Crozet, and focusing most of my efforts on being a father and running my business, Skyclad Aerial, which has been a great ride for about 5 years now.
Nice.
Apart from those two efforts, my main source of joy is being out in the woods, trail running with my dog. You know, we started the tea house years ago. That's still very much a part of my my daily ritual is spending a bit of time with my morning tea, and that's kind of the cornerstone of where I'm at right now.
I love it. We have a photo on screen of you with a drone capturing some images.
Oh, okay.
That we got from the Skyclad Facebook page. I see you around town. I see you with I have 2 German Shepherds myself.
All right.
They are not nearly as well trained as yours. Your German Shepherd is amazing. I see you around town
Yes.
with an adorable daughter. Why don't we start there? Fatherhood.
Yes.
What is that like for you?
Well, technically this year my daughter is a teenager.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's 13. So you see half of her friends are on the teenage side, half are still children, and she's holding on to that sort of childhood thread. So
Okay.
I'm encouraging that.
As you should, right?
Yeah. But yeah, she's had a great experience coming up here in Charlottesville. I don't know if anyone else can say this, but my daughter, Zuma Bell, was actually born on the downtown mall.
Really? Tell me about that.
So running the tea house from roughly 2001 to 2006, we were living in the apartment upstairs.
Cool.
So there was really no differentiation between life and work. It was all one thing. It was like having the party in your living room for 5 years, basically.
So she was born in the apartment.
Yes. So the tree in the tea house, which I'm sure many people can recognize, directly above that was a bedroom where we brought in a big tub, and I actually put some Huangshan Maofeng Chinese green tea leaves in the birthing trough. So she was born in tea above the tree.
That's badass.
Yeah, it was quite incredible.
Yeah, I mean, what was it like for you? So my son's almost 2. Mm-hmm. And I talk about this often on the show. Life-changing moment for me from a perspective standpoint and what matters standpoint.
Yes.
Seeing our little boy come out of my wife.
Yes.
It was scary and exhilarating and had all the feelings that ran the whole range of emotions.
Right.
All in like a 10-second span. What was it like for you?
My memory of the moment is in black and white, clear black and white. The child popping up over mother's shoulder, and I was right there behind, and our eyes locked, and mind's blown. But yeah, it's just been nothing but a great ride being her father.
I love it. Georgia and South Carolina, welcome to the program. Richmond, I see you. Christopher Eagle, hello. Ray Jordan, Stacy McDaniel, Mark Wogman watching the program. You have 4 states watching you now, Matteus. T-Bazaar.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. Talk to me about the creation of an iconic Charlottesville brand.
Yeah.
When, where, how, all the above.
So there were a lot of formative factors that went into that before I even arrived in Charlottesville. Some of my background is I went to school over at JMU.
Nice.
Graduated with a very useful degree, undergraduate degree in philosophy and religion. You think somewhere along that line I might have taken a Business 101 course, but no, not at all. So after graduating JMU, I moved out to Portland, Oregon in the late 90s.
Okay.
And we had a phenomenon where people would graduate JMU and either ride bicycles or take road trips and end up there. So when my girlfriend and we took our route by a old Land Cruiser that we lived in for 3 months and slowly road trip to get out there. And when we arrived, it was 13 people from JMU living in a 2-bedroom house.
Get out!
So that was our warm reception to Portland, Oregon, and it truly was a...
Do you like Portland?
Oh, big time.
Yeah?
Big time. It's changed dramatically.
Commercialized?
I would say it's one of my favorite places. One element of it is being in the epicenter of so many things. You're an hour from the coast, near the hot springs, the mountains, fly fishing, whatever your interest is, you're in the middle of it.
I love it. So why with such strong emotional ties to this community? Why go West Coast back to East Coast?
Yeah, well, there was a nice feeling when we were there in the late 90s that even though it's a large city, the scale of New York or something, there was still the feeling that you could contribute to what it was becoming.
Okay.
And as soon as I arrived in town there, I met a fellow from New Delhi, Varinder Chawla Singh, Sikh guy, Sikh brothers, love you out there. He had just arrived from New Delhi and was setting up his dream, which was to open up an international tea company that was based in a tea house. So right as he was creating the physical space, I was arriving in town looking for work, connected with him, and got to see the whole process from inception to actualization. And we had folks from India, China, Taiwan, Japan, Thailand, who had all grown up drinking tea in their own cultures come together around this tea house. So you had this real international melting pot. We'd have great parties with equal parts tea and sake. There's the classical Chinese and classical Japanese gardens there. So you could just it was a great place to develop tea culture. So I went through that ride, opening up his first tea house. We opened up a second location. His brand, the Tao of Tea, you can now see on store shelves around here. So just seeing the growth from simplicity to, nationwide company. And
it's almost like a second education for you.
Big time, or a first in terms of business, But, we had a big group of people who were totally entrenched in tea culture. And after spending 3 years in Portland, I went to India in the year 2000 and traveled around for 6 months on tea pilgrimage. So we just went from plantation to plantation, learning, interviewing folks. And I knew I wanted to open up a tea house at some point. I didn't know where it would be. So I began to collect artifacts to decorate it with. So I ended up importing some architectural pieces from old Indian temples. And the search for that stuff is so much fun. And I really like to travel when you have sort of a mission or a theme behind it, So it was 6 months of just roaming around, living out of a backpack, but it was, carried on by the theme of tea.
How'd you get back to Charlottesville then?
Well, after the trip, it really was a decision of, do we go back to Portland, pick up where we left off, a place we knew we loved, had some good connections, or do we sort of spread the gospel of tea to the East Coast, And
the East Coast was behind? As far as the gospel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, I still had family and friends in this area, more so on the Harrisonburg side. And I thought, where would this idea work in Central Virginia at this point? In Charlottesville, now this is like the year 2000, 2001, there was an emanation of creative energy. The downtown mall was a different place than it is now. I really like the social milieu around Charlottesville in that era was incredible. And
I remember, and I'm sorry to interrupt. So I came here in 2000 to go to school.
Okay.
And I remember going to Miller's in the fall of 2000 with a fake ID. Mm-hmm. We made fake New Jersey IDs, as first years.
Nice.
Those were easy to make.
My fake ID was also from New Jersey.
Remember, they were so easy to make.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we and my buddies come from UVA. We take the free trolley to the downtown mall because Agents of Good Roots was playing Miller's. We walk in, and we're like the quintessential 18-year-olds that don't know anything.
You guys are 18?
Yeah, okay. 18, going into Miller's to watch Agents of Good Roots play. And this is 2000, so right around the same time you're talking. I remember then almost feeling like, this place is awesome. It was a little seedy.
Yep.
It was a little dark, a little grungy. We walk into Miller's, and two people, I remember it was this a female who had maybe like 22 piercings, and tattoo sleeves, and her boyfriend screamed at us and said, "Students aren't welcome here. Get off the downtown mall."
It was too raw.
It was so different.
It was too edgy.
Right. Talk to me about that and how it's changed. Because now you look at it, it's like, it's just melting UVA and West Main Street to downtown.
Well, case in point, referring to Miller's, when we were building out the tea house, we were in there for about 6 months. My buddy Ducci and his massive Neapolitan Mastiff Lula were living in the office. So every night after a hard day of demolishing the interior walls that were in there and, the build-out process, we go down to Miller's. They were young idiots, and I left my other dog at the time, Boudreaux, this was pre-Buttercup. Left him tied outside, and for whatever reason, while we were inside, he got lost. And I was like, my dog, Ducci, get your motorcycle. So we were doing 2-up laps up and down the mall on his motorcycle, looking for the dog. And I'm like, that was another era.
Did you find the dog?
We did, yes.
Where was the dog?
Back at the tea house.
Really?
Yeah.
The dog went to your home?
Yeah.
To the
Yeah.
business you were
Yeah.
building? That's a smart dog.
Yes.
So you come to the downtown mall, you see the energy, you see Charlottesville's at this crossroads, if you may, this epicenter, to use your words, of art and culture and music and energy and vibrance and food and
Yeah.
really kind of like, it's cliche, almost turning the corner, if you may, from this like secret to a nationwide treasure, East Coast treasure, if you may. That's almost like perfect timing to launch a business, right?
It really was, yeah. And, you know, the social scene at that time was so great. It was like any party you went to in town, you knew everybody who was there. There was the golden era of the Tokyo Rose, all of those performances, parties, so much fun. And, I actually shout out to Rich Tarbell, his book regarding Charlottesville music.
He's come on the show.
Has he?
We got it over here, yeah.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job preserving that time and documenting that time. So shout out to Rich. It's inevitable in a sense. You know, you see the things that people like about it. You see it attracting more people. You see the artists contributing the sort of essence and spirit of the place to develop the spirit of the place. And, it gets popular. We've seen it a million times in various other places. It's just what happens. And when Rich was interviewing me for his book, he's like, what do you think about this change? And I'm like, it's not really a strong opinion that I have. I'm just bearing witness to what is. You know, I was doing my part in my time, and now I'm in another place. And, you know, the growth, the development, it's got pros and cons. Everybody
It sure does. Like, so I get torn on this, and I'll throw it back to you. As a small business owner, both of us, the growth and the resources and the deep pockets coming into the community are good for us. As someone who loves the intimacy of knowing everyone and walking up and down the street and saying, hey, and stopping and conversating and having this community, it's bittersweet. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. It's part of the process. I mean, we're dynamic creatures. We can't get locked into this nostalgia, wishing what it was.
Right.
You know, it's like
We gotta evolve.
Your life changes, you
Right.
know. I'm not running a restaurant. I'm running a drone business and, you know, interacting and collaborating with all these tech companies now. So I'm not going to be the guy who's like, God damn techies on their scooters tearing shit up.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
T-Bazaar, and we're going to get to Skyclad. I just want to do the flip book of you as a businessman.
Sure.
So T-Bazaar, a hit right when you launched?
before I opened the doors, I wanted to feel it out a little bit. And so what I did is I had this Chinese altar table that I mounted wheels on, and I had my camp stove and my costume that I brought back from Morocco, and I would get dressed up as like, you know, work myself into some sort of international tea preacher trance and brew tea for the masses on the downtown.
That is awesome.
So this went on for like a year on Fridays.
So like Andrew Vaughn's coffee cart, this was Matteus's tea cart.
Yes, and it wasn't so much like a money-making proposition. I just wanted to see
You're beta testing.
how people, how people would react. And actually, you know, I didn't have any money at the time, so I'm also figuring how the hell am I going to pay for this?
Right.
So I was getting feedback from people, and I actually had some folks fill out a form, and I went to the bank. I ultimately applied for an SBA loan, and I was like, I've got enthusiasm from 100 people on paper supporting that this will be a conducive market to the idea. So that was one little element of it. I also needed my my down payment for the SBA loan. So what I did is I took all of the things that I collected in India and I got them back to the U.S. So the $3,000 on my credit card that I maxed out turned into, $15,000 worth of replacement value goods. So you have to think creatively.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people feel like money is the hindrance to so many things. It's like you just got to do it, man.
Dude, I love the hustle. I love everything about this story. So you get the SBA loan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And granted, that was a time when you didn't need $2 million.
Right. That's when loans were much easier to get. Yeah. Now it's not the case. So you get the SBA loan. What happens next? I love this story.
Well, I pulled my buddy in from Richmond who was looking for a lifestyle change, the Dooch.
Okay.
He actually, after running some successful bars in New York, has recently returned and bought a house here as well within the past year. But he was sort of my spiritual advisor throughout the process. So Ducci and I were in there. It was an office space with like miles of internet cable in the wall, fluorescent lights. We had to tear down walls, rip up carpeting. So basically gut the entire tea house. And my favorite thing about any of the businesses that I've run is the creative process. You have a concept in your head. You figure out what steps you need to take to bring this thing into reality, and you just start doing it. So with the restaurants that I've done, I've loved being a part of the build-out process, doing that myself. One, because it's a fraction of the cost, and two, you're tailoring your vision.
Sure.
And in my earlier life, one thing that contributed to the spirit, really what I wanted to bring with the tea house, when I was 21, I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but this is a formative element of it. When I was 21, going to JMU, I went to Israel to study do a dig at an archaeological dig one summer at a kibbutz. And when the dig was over, I was like, man, if I'm going to be halfway across the world, I'm bringing my bike and I'm going to get the most out of this. So when the dig was done, I'm a 21-year-old kid, dumb, and I just pedaled away from the kibbutz down into Egypt, Sinai Peninsula. 6 months later, I ended up in Morocco. So I just rode my bicycle for 6 months. But along the way, there were these, specifically in Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, there were these little Bedouin outposts that were just complete havens. The desert is so relentless and brutal during the day. I would just like put my bed sheet that I took from a hostel up in the branches of an olive tree and like stay in this little square of shade for 10 hours and then ride at night. So if you've been to the desert, you know the light of the stars, there's almost like more light than darkness. So I got in this crazy mindset of, hunkering down during the desert days that are like 110 degrees and riding my bicycle through the Sinai Peninsula at night. But you would come upon these Bedouin outposts. There's one little settlement called Dahab, right on the Gulf of Aqaba. Water's lapping at the docks of these restaurants. You can stay there, you can sleep there, you can order the nargila to your table, you can drink this fresh mango juice. It's just like it's the real essence of oasis. So I was greatly affected by these places, and I wanted the spirit of the tea house to have this it's a refuge of some kind, and we're up there on the second floor, so it's kind of a destination that you can go to. And it's been great to really see people experience it as that over the years.
I love that. So do you feel like, I'm going to throw this to you, your nomadic nature, your search for your personal manifest destiny, okay, your eagerness or your zest or your passion for seeing the globe, isn't it such like perfect harmony or so symbiotic with being an entrepreneur and a visionary and a business creator? Like, I'm going to straight up cut to the chase.
Yes.
Matteus is not going to be able to go 8:30 to 6 o'clock sitting at a cubicle working for a corporate company.
Very true.
You would lose your freaking mind.
Very true.
Okay, so this search to see the world and the search to travel and the search to have open-minded experiences almost goes hand in hand with being an entrepreneur and launching brands.
I would agree. And when people use the term entrepreneur, to me it has built in it this sort of like mastery over the business arts or something like that, which obviously is not me. So I would be more of like an accidental entrepreneur or an incidental. But the two driving forces are, one, sharing what your passion and skill is with someone, and two, making sure that that's a positive contribution that's lifting up people around you in some way, however little, whether it's showing a pretty picture or offering a refuge for folks, whatever it is.
I love it. I love it. So we'll thank some of the people watching, a lot of your friends. Let's see here. Ted Norris is watching, the master mixologist and bar manager at Maya.
Excellent.
Ivan Rekosh is watching, the owner of Zocalo Restaurant. Welcome to the program. Valerie Herzbuda is watching. Kelly Tripp, the owner of the Fitzroy and Smoked Barbecues, watching the program as we speak. Casey Hott, NBC 29 is watching. Will Leister and Tom Dorfler.
All right, guys.
Watching the program as we speak. Give it a like and a share on any of the 12 Facebook pages you're watching, just like Tony Pessa has done. Olivia, is it Gabby, watching the program right here. She was involved with Michael Payne's campaign. Okay. She's watching the program. Okay, let me throw this to you here. How did you exit or sell the T-Bazaar?
Yes, so I ran it for 5 years.
Okay.
Structured it on my sort of SBA timeline. And that the 5th year was also when my child was born. So I had the impulse, like, all right, I've had the party in my living room for 5 years. I want to key down a little bit. Move over the mountain to Stanton, see how that is. So it was a natural segue of just having done the same thing for a long period of time. Gwendolyn Hall, the current owner, she came on as an employee like the last 6 months that I had it, and we connected, and she expressed interest in carrying the torch, and I think she's done an awesome job with it. It's 18 years old. I mean, it's an institution.
It's an icon.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hats off to her for keeping things alive and just keeping the vibe positive in there. And, you've seen so many employees come and go over the year, and a really nice element of it is that everybody who's been in there behind the bar has contributed to what it is,
I love it. Daniel Murray, welcome to the program. Daniel Murray, one of Charlottesville's finest, I believe, watching in North Carolina.
Excellent.
Your buddy, Jason Andrews.
All right.
Watching in New York.
Is he out there?
Watching in New York. He said, ask him about the trips up onto the roof.
Oh, well, what element of the roof are you?
Well, I mean, he also says this, and this is why I love this show, is because there's really no rules. He says, hits from the zong.
Oh, God.
We're going to leave that there. We'll leave that there. We both can appreciate that.
All right.
But he wants to know about the trips up onto the roof. So anywhere you want to go on that?
Ducci, I don't know. I mean, was I conscious when all this happened, or you? I don't know what you're talking about exactly. Yeah, we definitely spent time on the roof. We had some cool projections that we would set up down there for patio parties and things. But I don't know what insidious tale he's referring to. He's referring to something.
He definitely is.
Too many.
Yeah, right. And we'll take it. We'll segue. So you launch Black Market Moto Saloon.
Yes.
This is in the place that is now Firefly.
Correct.
Black Market Moto Saloon, dude, I would go. You had incredible music. You had a phenomenal safe haven for musicians.
Yeah.
Well-priced booze, good food. It was just a good place to effing party.
It was. We had a lot of fun. It was a 3-year run there. Again, it was, so I had been in the Valley and moving back to Charlottesville, and all these changes that we've discussed are, well into play now. So it's like, where would I do something like this? First of all.
Yeah.
And the property belonging to Oliver Kuttner, who's
Right.
always been a supporter of free thinkers, artists, small businesses. I approached the topic with him, and we got into the old, I don't know if you're familiar with the previous incarnation of Dust.
No.
It was sort of an underground music venue run by Kurt Levine, who's an insane rabbi from Haight-Ashbury.
Where?
He passed through here on his sort of orbits of the world. So he had been kind of an underground entity that was running these mostly hardcore shows, punk shows, out of part of that space for the better part of a decade, I think.
So this is the 90s?
This is into the 2000s. Yeah. Not a lot of people knew about it. It wasn't an official venue of any kind.
Super DL.
Yes.
Okay.
But that said, there were some incredible times there. There was Mass Sabbath every Halloween, like a 20-person Black Sabbath cover band. Incredible. And it just represented a grittier edge that it was the last semblance of grit in Charlottesville, basically. You know, you get a little bit of grit if you go to Richmond, so on. So I really appreciated it for that. I felt like as development around here came into place, things are cleaning up, like plenty of artists. But
this place is raw.
Yes,
Yeah.
It was. You know, and Charlottesville is slowly becoming like, oh, well, here's your clean, like art in a box. Your
Almost
first
cookie cutter.
Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the restaurants, shout out to everyone running successful restaurants around
Amen.
here. But when I came here for the first time, I'm seeing people hype like farm-to-table cuisine is this big like marketing thing. And I'm like, dude, I was in Portland in the 90s. Everybody was doing that and nobody talked about it. So I was kind of like, just do it because why wouldn't you?
Yeah, because it's what's right.
So that sort of mindset, it's like, oh, well, if something's like edgy, it has to be sort of controlled by these structures and so on. And that was sort of one of the last opportunities to not be controlled by conventional structure.
And I love, and that's exactly, I'm a libertarian. The last thing I want, and an entrepreneur, and someone that works his ass off, the last thing I want is the government in my shit. The last thing I want is people to tell me what to do with my hard work and my businesses and my family and what to do. We embody the same mindset. So at your business, what I thought was an awesome brand, an awesome bar, an awesome spot for music. I was living on Little Graves in Belmont at the time behind Spud Nuts.
Yep.
So right around the corner from me. Okay, Black Market Moto Saloon. You had, and I'm going to let you take it anywhere you want to go here. You played great music. People loved it. From time to time, the decibel levels were rather loud. And neighborhood services, was it Jim Tolbert at the time?
Yes, good old Jim.
Good old Jim, who has since moved away.
Yeah, where are you, Jim?
Yeah. And I'm going to say this is not you saying it, this is me.
Right.
Made a molehill into this ginormous Everest-type mountain.
Yeah.
Is that safe to say?
It is. And there was so much drama and negative energy around that whole conflict between us having music in the neighborhood. But honestly, when I came into town, I had gone through a period of extreme personal difficulty in life. I don't want to get too crazy personal on the show,
Sure.
but it was an extremely catastrophic time in my life. And I moved back to Charlottesville like, all right, I'm going to be raising a child here. What do I have this skill set to do? Like you said, I'm not going to get a job and clock into a box for 8 hours a day. It just can't happen. The one thing I know how to do is create a restaurant space, go through that whole process, do it on a dime. And where am I going to do that? That's the one location that I'm going to do it. So, and I was wrestling with a lot in my life at that time, and I was like, I just want to keep this simple. I need some therapy, and my therapy right now is drinking beer and playing around with my motorcycles.
I love it.
So,
And did you live in the place above?
Yes, and again, we had an apartment above
Because that place
the
is so
restaurant.
dope. A lot of people don't realize how dynamic that space is.
Yeah.
That place is it now an upstairs office, I believe?
Yeah, there was an office directly above it, and then I blew a hole in the wall and put some French doors into another
That is
living
sick.
apartment that you could go out onto the roof. So
Yeah.
it was this whole little compound. It was quite a space.
So during that time, the space was as much your livelihood as it was therapeutic.
Very much so. And there were just some great elements about it. We had a wood stove in there. It's like a fire going. You get this whole like ski lodge feeling going. We had some like hoops hanging from the ceiling so people could like do their little acrobatics routine. We had some lawless nights like BB gun night, and maybe our neighbor had welded some like strange mini bikes, so we're taking like mini bike laps around inside the bar. And we actually, did you catch wind of that one party that we had, CVille Knievel?
Remind me, jog my memory.
So we ended up having 2 of them, and it was, having a biker bar in Charlottesville is kind of laughable.
Sure.
Like, I ride old BMW motorcycles and love those. So it was tongue-in-cheek and kind of a counterpoint to how clean and safe everything in Charlottesville was becoming.
Sure.
And I think it really attracted a vast spread of people that was beautiful to behold. So many people have commented on this. It wasn't a niche-based place. You had professors from the university.
Everybody. That's what I loved about it.
Sitting next,
it was a melting pot.
Big time.
Yeah.
And it really bridged a lot of gaps. And, to see the genuine element of that versus a scripted version of trying to do that, it was like everybody got it and saw it and appreciated it. But, people hear about it from like the far reaches of the neighborhood. And it sounds too dangerous. You talk about the music thing. So they were giving me grief about the live music. And then we had the other restaurant, currently Holly's.
Yeah. It was the Lunchbox.
It was the Lunchbox at the time. So those guys were also not zoned for music. They would have shows on their back porch.
Right.
A lot of times it would be on a Tuesday night, some like loud subpar music.
Sure.
Neighbors might hear that and be like, oh, Moto Saloon's going off.
Right.
Okay, so one Friday night, I have Jim Tolbert with an entourage of like 8 firefighters, police officers, sheriffs, Friday night service, come into the restaurant to shut me down. We're not having music while there's a live illegal performance going on across the intersection. And I'm like, guys, this is Friday night. It's like 8 or 9 o'clock, and you're here in my restaurant with your little clown parade shutting me down for music when it's
across the street.
Can you see it? Can you hear it? It's over there. It's not in here. So they revoked my operating permit.
What?
I faux groveled for like a minute, got the operating permit back, and I was like, fuck you guys, man. I've got my own moral compass. I'll have music when I want to. And we did, and we continued to, and just didn't announce it. So I don't know. I have my own moral standards. I don't need
respect. I respect that.
City planners telling me how to live.
Amen, brother. Amen. So throw this to you. How difficult, and J-Dubs, if our favorite leaf blower comes around, will you give him the hush-hush outside?
Nice.
He knows, he works with us. So throw this to you. How difficult was it to pass the torch on the saloon?
Well, okay, what I did after it became this high-profile music issue, I was like, all right, I'm not interested in being here anymore. I've gone through the creative process. I want to sell the thing. So I immediately changed the name to Woolly Mammoth.
I remember that.
Hearkening to woolen mills,
Sure.
being a little more palatable to the general population. So I had, as I mentioned, I had all sorts of nightmares going on in my life at the time. So what I did is I asked a business broker in town to sell the business for me. I was like, I got too much on my plate. Can you help me out with this? And that individual was not helpful towards that end. And we had the little contract where they get a year, and if I sell it within the year, they still get a small cut.
They're cut, right.
So long story short, I sold it a day after that person's year-long contract expired. So that year was a bit of a pain in the ass. I wanted to just move on and keep flowing. But there were probably a dozen folks who I showed it to. I didn't think any of them were a good fit. And another big concern is the neighborhood was like, well, Matteus, if you get that permit and you sell it, all hell could break loose. You could sell it to death metal,
sure,
whatever. But again, I act by my own moral standards, and I was looking for the person who would be the right fit for the space and for the community at large. And we found Melissa and Mark, God bless Mark, who was able to live his dream of
an arcade meets a bar meets a restaurant.
Yeah. So, again, Mark and Melissa had created something with a completely different identity after I sold it to them. I think it's, very conducive with the neighborhood and so on. It was kind of the last hurrah for lawlessness.
How was that for you personally? I mean, this brand that's your therapist in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That's helping you through transition through a tough part of your life. You're serving an important niche in the community.
Yes.
You're having success. You've combined motorcycles with running a restaurant and bar, with being a music venue, with having a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah.
Right? Making a living. Yeah. You're living there, and you're closing it down.
Yeah.
I know you're passing the torch, but you know what I mean. What's going on through your mind then?
Well, one thing that I think of is, during the CVille event that I mentioned, which was, a 12-hour it was a boar roast by Jinx. Shout out to Jinx, a true emblem of Charlottesville's
great barbecue.
Past.
Yeah.
We had bands throughout the day. I think it was like 20 bands played or something. Fire breathers, the whole carnival shebang bang. And at the stroke of midnight, we had a scale model of the rotunda with 2 ramps leading up to it. And we lit it on fire. And everyone was inside, and we're like, the rotunda's burning, everyone outside. And we ignited, there's like hundreds of people there, and we lit the flaming hoop, and the rotunda effigy is going up in flames, and I was wearing my CVille Knieville costume with like a long cape on this like little bike, revving it, probably like 24 beers into it at that point, and I got to jump through the flaming hoop over the burning rotunda. So that was sort of this like high point, like your work here is done sort of thing. I got to jump through the flaming hoop, and then I was like, who wants the keys? I'm done.
Chicky one time.
Chicky, another Portland.
Watching right now.
He's in Portland.
Love you, brother. You are looking good. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. Jason wants me to ask you about riding on the back of his motorcycle with your dog on your lap.
Oh, well, that was, I think, after we found him after that night at Miller's. I don't know. I alluded to that story early.
Yeah, this was up and down the downtown mall we alluded to.
Yeah, so I guess we found Boudreaux and pulled him aboard the motorcycle as well and continued our laps.
Hunter Smith is watching on vacation, I think somewhere in the Caribbean. Are you Hunter Smith of Champion Brewery? Put it in the chat box.
Killer.
7 different states watching the program here. This man is well-traveled. See a ton of Harrisonburg and Stanton watching the program as we speak. We're going to thank a couple of folks. Virginia Coggle, am I saying that right?
Yes. Hey, Ginny.
She's watching the program as we speak. April Marshall, Everett Anderson, Becca Frazier, Elena Mangione, the owner of Mangioni's on West Main. Jay Wyant watching right now. 9 different restaurant owners I'm counting on the program.
Wow.
Okay, so you go from food service, bar, restaurant, community, and the T-Bazaar.
Yes.
And you go from building this epic brand that I personally enjoyed, just like the T-Bazaar, many times, and Black Market Motor Saloon, to now being the owner and the founder of Skyclad Aerial.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
So needless to say, at the end of the Motor Saloon, I was done with the restaurant thing. I had, throughout traveling, developed an interest in travel videography, what's it called? Travel Channel. I went to a Travel Channel boot camp in New York. It was a week-long program. Takes you through basic short-form video instruction. I'm like, man, I want to be traveling the world and doing my little videos, but I'm here in Charlottesville and, raising a daughter.
Right.
So sort of sublimating that urge a little bit and always appreciating the storytelling component of videography. And actually, you have a background with NBC 29.
I do. Yeah, I was a broadcaster.
I caught wind of this recently.
Okay. What'd you catch wind of?
Just that you were associated with NBC. I actually had a 6-month gig there at
Really?
a transitional period as a videographer. And
What years? I'm sorry, I got a cough. I'm coming over a cold here, but
it was right when I moved back before opening up the Moto Saloon.
okay.
So I was ultimately fired for insubordination.
That does not surprise me. Did Harold Wright fire you? Was it Neil Bennett?
No, it was
David Foki?
David.
Okay, David
Yeah.
Foki, the current news director. That does not surprise me at all.
Shout out. I like David.
Yeah. David means well. It's a tough business, the news business.
Yeah, and it's a changing fast,
Yeah,
man.
it is changing fast. Yeah.
So yes, I didn't have I didn't have any background with photography. Something about being involved with storytelling through videography. There's a load of talented videographers in Charlottesville here.
It's saturated.
And so it's like, where would I find a place in that? I can't move to New York or LA or something. So what would like a little niche that I could succeed in be?
Brilliant.
And this was right as, drone technology was becoming more popular. This was a couple years before they came out with the Part 107 exemption, which is basically you need to fulfill a written knowledge test to become a commercial operator of drones.
Okay. I got a lot of follow-up questions on this.
Sure.
In fact, people are asking follow-up questions on this. Jim, is it Scubia?
Jim Shuba.
Shuba.
He was the man holding down the bar at Moto Saloon.
BMMS forever.
Black Market Moto Saloon.
That's right. He says he loves the interview here. Okay, so we're getting this question from a lot of people.
Yes.
Skyclad Aerial. I'm going to straight up hype you here.
Okay.
Market leader. What you do is absolutely amazing. I see your stuff in traditional media outlets constantly. I follow you on social. It's amazing. He gifted us, and Judah, let's go to the studio cam or the one shot, this fabulous aerial of the downtown mall and Fridays After 5 in the pavilion, which I think is just absolutely gorgeous. You have a gift and a talent. The questions that are coming in are the following. Please use this opportunity as a platform to talk about the need for, aviation certifications and how that's not necessarily the right way to go, and it's how it's frustrating. Also, people asking about the barrier of entry to be a drone artist or photographer.
Right.
The barrier seems to be getting lower and lower and lower as the technology becomes more affordable and approachable.
In many ways, yes. Well, the first thing, the idea of a drone industry, I fly a drone for a living. It carries a lot of
it's badass.
Buzz and insinuates
it's sexy.
excitement.
I feel like you can go to the bar and you don't even have to pass the business card up. I fly drones for a living. And then the ladies flock to Matteus.
That hasn't worked for me yet, man. So, there's the flashy side, and then there's the dirty side, the nitty-gritty side. To operate commercially, the first thing you have to do is pass that Part 107 test. And there is some, fairly particular information on that. I'd say a lot of the information is what a commercial pilot would have, being able to read like airspace maps, extreme familiarity with weather. So it's not a given. It's not like a dumb 10-question yes or no type test. It's very comprehensive. And I think the point of that is the FAA, who is tasked with monitoring the safest airspace in the world, sees the onset of drones. They see the pervasiveness of the technology coming like a wave, and they're like, all right, we got to get a grip on this from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So they want to convey the idea that you're operating in a shared airspace, okay? Just a public service announcement for anyone, hobbyist or otherwise, who has a drone. We don't fly over people, we don't fly over moving traffic, and we don't fly around airports. Those are the three primary things. You can get into more methodical, particular legalities and so on. But that said, okay, now you're a commercial drone flyer. You've got your license. Who's going to pay you to do this? Okay. The real estate market is a very prolific thing. Everybody sees the use in the real estate market.
Absolutely, especially those bigger, higher dollar palatial properties.
Which there are many around here.
Charlottesville, exactly. Yeah.
So the estates, the farms, and the so on. And I would start shouting out to some of the realtors we've worked with, but I don't want to.
Don't tip your hand. You've got a lot of people watching here. Do not tip your hand. And your secret sauce, if you may.
All right. So that's actually been very fun, getting the sort of inside view on a lot of these high-end properties around here. But
does the hobbyist need these certifications? Can you just buy a drone on Amazon and fly it?
Now, there are rules that they need to follow,
Okay.
and they would also come back to those three that I mentioned,
Uh-huh.
the people, the traffic, and the airports. Stay
Okay.
away from those. But you can operate a drone freely. You can purchase one. There's a big confusion about the legislation that individual cities and things can create their own drone laws. There was some statement in city council years ago saying something to the effect, I think it was actually geared towards the police not being allowed to use them for surveillance, and that translated to the general public as drones are banned in Charlottesville. And I'm like, no, they're not. No, they're not. So, the technology that was available 10 years ago, you had to have a big, 5-figure contraption to get a decent video image, stabilized video image. Now, the technology is quickened. So at the prosumer level, sensors and platforms that are available can produce incredible deliverables, and the cost to entering the market is not prohibitive. But again, you got your license, you got your equipment. Now, how are you going to generate a regular business with this? You mentioned you've seen us on a lot of the local news outlets.
Yeah.
So we've developed relationships with a lot of those folks. In the beginning, you're doing pro bono work. A real estate person isn't going to hire you unless you have a portfolio.
Right. You do a great job from a strategy and branding standpoint of stamping or watermarking your photography. So even if it's a pro bono photo, and we're showing them, literally flipping through them on screen as we speak, even if it's pro bono, the value proposition for your brand is the exposure, the portfolio creation and building, and then the fact that, I see this in this massive outlet like I Love CVille, I want a piece of this, and then they contact you.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to do this, my time is money.
Yeah, and demonstrating to people the different uses for it, like photojournalistic documentation, advertising, promos, Peloton Station. We work with Ian Atkins, one of the most talented videographers in town, to do
And it was
promo
phenomenal.
for those guys.
I love the video.
So it's a new perspective. It's fresh. It's modern media. Everything we deal with nowadays is coming through visual media at a rapid pace. So it's like a new perspective that you can lend to that. So when I'm describing the business, I tell people it has two arms. There's sort of the media and production arm, advertising, video production for various ends, and then there's the sort of data side of things where we're working with architects, engineers, surveyors using photogrammetry to create terrain maps and structure models of buildings. Okay, so a lot of the workflows with architects, it's like we've been designing a building this way, using very manual methods and traditional survey methods. Now I can get that data at a higher resolution in a fraction of the time using UAV technology. UAV is unmanned aerial vehicle.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
So there's to really get into these commercial applications, there's a lot of sales involved and outreach, and explain to these people who've been doing something with a given workflow for a long period of time how this tool can really lend itself to their
Different applications.
Yes.
Yeah, which you would be good at. You have the undeniable gift of human connection. You're a charming, likable, approachable guy.
Hear that?
Do people say otherwise?
Oh, there's probably some varying opinions out there.
I think you're a cool dude. Seriously, a likable guy. Isn't what you're doing match up so well with your personality? The whole concept of drone photography is like freedom and capturing art and capturing a vision and seeing things the ways that other people do not see, which is like quintessential you.
Well, certainly the variety of it
Right.
keeps me sane.
Yeah.
But, the fact that I can create my
Every job is different.
Yes. We rely on the weather, so we have to work with kind of flexing around the natural environment. The scenery is always different. In many cases, my job is to create a beautiful image. So having done this for 5 years, it's my relationship with the outdoors. I'm paying attention to qualities of light. I'm like, oh, it's sunny and blue skies, but I know there's going to be a lousy glare going on. So it's developed appreciations within me for things. And I never had any formal photography background, so it's a lot of reverse learning. And just that keeping your creative wheels turning, the variety of applications, I taking like little mini vacations out to an estate with my dog in my ambulance. You know? So it's good living. Drone life, baby. I love it.
Do you have photos, Judah, of the ambulance that you can put on screen? Okay,
I posted one yesterday.
Yeah, on your Facebook page,
Yeah.
your personal? Okay, his personal Facebook page. I'm putting you on the spot here if you could get him on there. We're an hour in, and I could go a whole day with you. I have so many more questions I want to ask. We have a conference call with one of our clients at 1:45.
Okay.
So we got 10 minutes here. We're going to go extra. We usually only go 60 minutes.
Yes.
But for Matteus, we go 70.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so this is what I'd like to ask you about. Open-ended question.
Sure.
Charlottesville in 20... How long have you been in Charlottesville?
It's 2000, basically.
Okay, so similar to me, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Charlottesville in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Mateus' State of the Union of Charlottesville in 2020.
Oh, God.
I'm sure you've thought of this.
I don't know if I... well, State of the Union, what is around us, Like I said, I'm bearing witness to it, the same as everyone else is. There's a lot I appreciate about it. That is why I'm here. There's a bit to gripe about the development, the traffic. Actually, with the traffic, I'm doing a little art piece called Civil Twilight, which is capturing like the monotonous symmetry and beauty of rush hour, and it's going to have like a little political commentary built into it. That's a work in progress that I'm doing. But I'm like, rush hour sucks, but I'm going to make this little beautiful montage out of the experience. So, a lot of comparisons are made between places like Austin, because we're going that tech route and so on. And I happen to be in a period of my life where collaborations with some of those technologies are going to help me develop other components of my business. Mm-hmm. And Charlottesville is the supreme networking place. It's like you can find common ground with so many people. So we've been, we've worked with Leidos right across the street. We work with thriving cities over here. And moving towards the future, just trying to shape this sort of digital Charlottesville in a sense. I know people are going to be like, what the hell is he talking about?
No. I'm with you. Yeah.
But basically using what we have to develop something new to make a livelihood out of it and not just gripe about it and complain. It's back in the old days. It used to be like the...
What did you make about August? Put the pic up. Yes, thank you, Judah, of his traveling vehicle. We're getting that on screen.
Yep.
What did you... Okay, throw this to you, because did you not, correct me if I'm wrong, did you not do a phenomenal aerial of all the shit that was going on with August 12th?
Oh, man. Yes.
I picked up on every news outlet.
Yeah, this could be like a whole story in and of itself. I was flying the drone throughout the day, captured horrifying footage of many things.
This was A12 2017?
The first one,
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And ended up capturing the cars impacting the crowd. So immediately I went, that was a bit of a mind bender, man. I was like, I got tear gassed on the downtown mall. I witnessed like horrific beatings in these streets that we walk on, these bricks that you just quaintly walk up and down every day. and I captured footage of the cars hitting the crowd. So immediately when I shared that with NBC 29, every news agency in the world was contacting me. And I'm sitting at Brasserie Saison. They let me come in there and just like get my bearings, and I'm like getting the tear gas out of my eyes. And NBC 29 calls, and they're like, "Oh, Matteus, we just had 2 helicopters go down at Birdwood. Can you get out there?" And I'm like, "What the flying fuck is going on, man?" Like sudden idealism shattered into war zone. So It was a mind bender in many ways, but I think we give some of these people who put that together too much credit. I mean, even by referring to them as a proper type, they're damaged human beings, man. It's sad, and I could get rolling on this whole topic.
I was out here, so I, like you, a father, me. Mm-hmm. I knew that my boy was going to be learning about this at history class. Mm-hmm. I was out here of our building, literally in front of the Macklin, watching the most awful, awful stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I was in a mental and physical funk after A12 2017 for a couple months. And my wife says to me, "You're going to go see a therapist, or you're going to figure out to get out of this mental fog." Okay? And she helped. This show, this set, the I Love CVille show, was birthed and manifested from that fog. Our small part of helping showcase the good and positive of Charlottesville through the eyes and perspective of those who do good and positive things in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw the baton back to you. What was going through you, because you have a phenomenal way with words. You're a wordsmith. What was going through your mind during that time and how you got out of it? Because I can already tell, you feel a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was stunned. I was in a little bit of shock after that happened. Like, I went over to NBC to edit my clips, and I couldn't work my editing software. I was just like, Sam, help me with this.
Sam King?
Sam Kempf.
Okay.
He also worked there. He's a videographer in town.
Okay.
It's the juxtaposition of where Heather Heyer was hit, and I'm like, someone died here. My child was born 100 feet over there, and it just kind of wrung the mind a bit. But that entire event, I mean, I liken very little of it to Charlottesville's identity. It happened here. It doesn't represent the people who are here. It doesn't represent a day in the life here. It was
Amen.
The world at large, and this happened to be like the match head at that time.
That's extremely well said.
So,
one of my favorite interviews here, 76 minutes in, or 66 minutes in. All right, plug for Skyclad.
And just real quick segue out of that, and it's like, so what do you do after something like that happens? You're showing us what you do. You digested it. You're like, all right, how can I turn this? How can I create positivity out of chaos? And boom, here we are in your studio. So,
what did you do?
Trotted onward, keeping I spent time digesting it. Physical exercise is good for everything. Running, gym, processing, going through things. It wasn't so much a big mission statement on my part, like, this is my response.
Sure.
It was just like, keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully more positivity is coming off of you than negativity or anything else.
It 100% is with you. 100,000% is. Infinity percent is with you. I swear to God.
Too kind, Jerry.
No,
Too kind.
I'm authentic and genuine with that statement. Close with this. A Skyclad Aerial. All the folks watching.
Yes.
Getting involved with you, working alongside your brand.
I'm delighted to be where we are 5 years into the game. I have a lot more that I want to pull out of this company and develop. One of it is the production side. I want to collaborate with some of the talent that we have around here, really create top-notch, ultra-modern promos for every business that's around here. push the envelopes of development. And with all this tech happening, endless collaborations. We're working with people creating photogrammetric models that can be viewed on a HoloLens, working with the VR and the augmented reality. The schools at UVA, we've slowly made some collaborations with them. I want to continue working with the university. I want some of the offerings, the deliverables that we create with the drone to be standard in place for some of the facilities development of the city. Digital Charlottesville. It's like every location is going to have a digital representation, information attached to it that's specific to the user. You can look on our webpage. We've got a sort of a small 360 map of Charlottesville I created with just kind of general hover over links, using this imagery as a way to just plot our way into the future, deliver information and connection between people. So it's a wide and vast field, and I just want to keep pushing it and use some of the resources that we have around here to keep making that happen.
Dude, I have so much respect for your vision and your hustle, because it ain't easy. Small business ownership is a lonely, brutal path. It's often, one step forward, two steps back from my experience.
There's no other choice, is there?
There's no other choice for me either. No other choice for me either. You've made my day.
Good.
I'm truly grateful for your most precious commodity, your time.
I've enjoyed this. You have to tell me what any of the bad comments were.
Wait, you have zero bad comments. Literally zero bad comments.
Ducci, I don't know what you're talking about with the roof. You have to brief
Ducci's
me.
still watching. This is for the folks that are watching the program and want to know where you can find the interview in totality. We will archive it on ilovecville.com. We will take today's interview and for the next 2 weeks syndicate it across the I Love CVille network, which is 17 Facebook pages, 17 Twitter accounts. We have an e-newsletter that goes out to 125,000 plus inboxes every morning at 11 a.m. We will take the audio and strip it from the show and turn it into a podcast on iTunes and on Apple Podcasts. The audio and visual, the A and V on ilovecville.com. And we're just going to make this man's beautiful brain kind of saturate Charlottesville for the next 2 weeks. My name is Jerry Miller, and this is the I Love CVille Show. We close with the same message every single show. Please embody the golden rule. Treat the other folks in your life how you want to be treated yourself. Charlottesville needs the golden rule more than ever, and the country and the world need the golden rule more than ever. Enjoy your afternoon, guys. Take care.
That was a hoot. I love
Dude,
that.
It was so good.
Fun.
It was fun. It was so fun. Thank you. Thank you. One more thing we got to do. We got to take the hero photo.